Howdy, howdy!
I'm ready.
And welcome to But It Was Aliens, the paranormal comedy podcast where we probe paranormal activity to decide, for the questionable benefit of humanity, whether that activity really was paranormal. My name is Mr. Kev in the John, and alongside me, with no idea what paranormal stank he's about to smell, is Mr. Granville Moonwalker. Today we are probing deep into the 1800s. 1880, specifically.
Ooh. Is it going to be a stinky episode? Like, are the aliens or whatever this is going to smell?
No, to be honest, I'm not going to get your hopes up.
Okay.
Probably
Is it
quite
gonna
the
be
opposite, in
bonky?
fact.
No smell at all? Or smell pleasant?
No smell at all? We'll see, because who says we're covering aliens today?
Like a rosy fart on the wind.
We begin today's probe just a few miles outside of Gallatin, Tennessee, on a farm. Farm life is tough and required quite the crew to get by back in the 1800s. On this particular farm, that crew was wife and mother, Emma, Emma's 8-year-old son, George, 11-year-old daughter, Sarah, a few servants, and husband, Daddy, David Lang. It had been a long morning. You know that farmers start their day at like 4 a.m. A cow's udders are fullest first thing in the morning, so that's where the real titty milk money is at. To be fair, farmers actually often work late at night when the crows aren't disturbing their crop. But anyway, the 23rd of September had been a hard 1880 morning. Emma and George were playing in the front yard when Emma and David Lang came out of the house, and David darted across the pasture towards their quarter horses. Quarter horses are generally the fastest horse over a quarter mile, hence the name, and are said to have a cow sense.
Is one of the servants called Emma?
They could have been, but I'm referring to the wife-mother there.
Okay. So...
Interesting theory. I suppose, for argument's sake, the research that I read could have assumed that's the mother.
Are there two mothers?
No, wife-mother.
So
She's a mother and a wife.
She's a mother and a wife.
Multiple roles. Don't make them invisible.
Can she split herself into two?
She's not an X-Man.
Okay.
Or man. Person.
So how was she playing outside in the front yard and then coming out of the house at the same time?
Sarah and George were playing in the front yard. Starting off strong here. Shit.
Right. Lost myself. Where are we?
Well, I'm already lost apparently, so I won't worry too much. We're on a farm.
So these horses are said to have a cow sense.
Yes.
In terms of what they can...
When I did this research, I knew exactly what that was, but a baby has happened since then.
So, like, they can sense a disturbance in the force?
The cow force. Cows communicate via the force, in fact.
Yeah.
Was
They
it?
can sense a disturbance, like, when the weather's about to change and things like that. They can tell
Where the cows are?
dips in temperature or if it's going to rain.
God, I wish I'd have banked this memory. I'm going with the cow force. They can sense cows, even though they're not a cow.
So since Kevin had birth, he has lost his brain.
Fair, yeah. My memory, probably more specifically. Not the whole brain. I can still talk. Sort of. Yeah. As David Lang was heading across the field...
I'm sorry. I read that as Daddy Lang. As Daddy Lang.
He was Daddy Lang. As Daddy Lang was heading across the field, David looked back and saw the horse and cart of his friend Judge August Peck come into view. The Pecker.
Is he a judge or is his name Judge?
Both.
Okay.
Conveniently named. No, he's a judge. Judge Peck, too, saw David. Judge Peck usually brought presents with him. This shit was like Santa rolling through, so the children stopped playing and excitedly awaited Peck's arrival. The children began arguing over their toys as Judge Peck approached. David, meanwhile, waved to Judge Peck and Peck's brother-in-law, Mr. Wade, who was from Ohio and accompanied Peck. David then turned and headed back towards the house. Then, David was gone. Blip. Yes, David Lang, watched by his wife Emma, the 2 children, Judge Peck, and Mr. Wade, and a few servants, quite literally vanished into nothing. 0 to 100, baby! That is the case. We're wrapping up, folks.
Questions.
Lots of questions. But that's where the case ends.
Was there a sound when he vanished?
Yeah, it went... No, nothing. Literally just vanished.
So they watched him walk and he just disappeared.
Yeah. Remember, he'd gone over towards like the horse and the cows, so he was a little bit in the distance, but not too far away. He'd come back when he saw Judge Peck was there, and then boom, wasn't there. Flat land.
Didn't fall in a sinkhole.
Good idea, but if he did, he's dead, isn't he? Well, it depends on how big the sinkhole is, I guess. He could have survived it, but... Disappearing Daddy Lang. He's a magician. Abracadabra. Woo!
What the F, David Blaine?
Was this the Victorian era David Blaine?
I'm just trying to think. Did he...
I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing, really. There's not really much to grasp at, is there? He's there, then he isn't. What can you say?
I suppose, were they watching?
Yeah, all of them were watching.
Disappear?
Because he was coming over to greet them, obviously, and boom.
He wasn't there.
Just gone. Completely vanished. No falling over, no beaming up, just gone.
Were his clothes there?
Nope.
All of him had gone.
His
including
everything.
The clothes on his back.
Yeah, clothes, hair, stank.
Okay.
Emma Lang let out a distraught scream. Thank you. I was about to do it myself. You beat me to it. Emma, Peck, Peck's companion, Mr. Wade, and the 2 children ran towards the spot where David had been standing. There was nothing there. No hole in the ground David could have dropped into. No bush or rock David could have slid behind. There was nothing. David had truly vanished without a trace. The group continued to search the field to no avail. By this point, Emma was becoming hysterical. Emma was escorted back to the house as an alarm was raised for neighbours to come and assist in the search. Come nightfall, every nook, cranny and mound was being searched via lantern light, but still there was not even the slightest hint of evidence as to what had happened to David. The group was stamping their feet as they searched to rule out hidden caves beneath the surface.
Smart.
Nothing. This may be the most unexplained and mysterious of mysteries that we have ever encountered on this podcast currently. A person kapoofed. Gone.
I think you're quite right. It is the most unexplained and mysterious.
Just gone.
It's like, you know when you watch a film and someone stood there on the side of the road and they're staring at you or at the person in the film.
Yep.
And then something goes past and then they're gone.
Yep.
It's like this without the object going past.
What would you be thinking if, as we're recording this episode right now, sat opposite each other, I just disappeared?
I would go and ask your partner if you've been dabbling in any mystical stuff.
Was David a wizard or a shaman?
Is he a scientist by any chance?
He's a farmer.
Yeah, but he could have been a scientist. Is he dabbling with mirrors?
There's no evidence there was nothing around where he disappeared, but I suppose that's a possibility.
I'm clutching at farm straws here.
I mean, not to play my hand here, but I've got no friggin' idea either. In the weeks that followed, Emma Lang had become unwell due to the stress of it all and was bedridden. Oh, it's just too much. Will he come back? Business was on pause. curious locals begun visiting the farm, having heard the rumours that a man had disappeared into thin air there, and were chased away by the local authorities, who were regularly around the farm trying to help. The county surveyor visited Lang Farm and confirmed that the farm was on flat ground. There were no hidden sinkholes or caverns beneath the fields, as bedrock begun only a few feet below the field, making cave-ins impossible. Several months passed, and there was still no sign of David. When the season begun improving in spring 1881, the Lang children were back out playing in the fields. Emma had warned the children not to play where Lang vanished, but kids will be kids. It was at this time that the children discovered that around the site David disappeared, scientifically speaking, the grass had gone all yellow and stinky. A 15-foot circle had formed around the site. 15-foot circle. There's your stank.
If a body was to
Stanky.
die and decompose
What?
in
Immediately?
ground, well, it's been several months,
Oh, I suppose. But maybe that's how he disappeared. He just kapoofed into...
cause that same effect.
I don't think so. I'd imagine it would be like a fertiliser in the opposite effect. But I suppose it depends on the stomach acids and whatnot. If David had been eating some real foul shit.
Depends what's on the ground as well.
Like, slight sidebar, you can opt as a burial to have your body planted, can't you? And like, oh, shit will grow out of you.
Imagine you came back. You were like,
I'm Tree Man.
You came out, you had half a tree coming out the side of your head. Mushrooms coming out your fingers.
Like, what's his name from Pirates of the Caribbean? Davy Jones, like with all the barnacles and whatnot. That, but tree version.
Tree beard.
Davy Tree.
I think you should have that done.
Have that done?
Yeah.
I don't think it's an option.
You just said it was.
Oh, to have the burial done, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you meant to turn myself into half a tree.
Yeah, you would. It'd come back as tree beard.
Well, I don't know there'd be any
Like,
coming back. Well,
yeah.
for me, maybe.
Yeah, it would.
Because I've been dabbling in those mystical arts.
200 years' time. Just rise from the ground. Oh, Kevin Treebeard.
Do you reckon that's what happened in The Lord of the Rings with those? Oh, I've
Ents.
forgotten that. That's the one. Thank you. That was going to bother me.
Possibly.
Like hobbits had just done the burial planting option rather than cremation or standard burial. The key to eternal life.
Become an ent. Yes. 3 hours later, we've just said hello.
God darn. I'm just thinking myself now, I don't know whether it would cause like a lack of growth or an overgrowth.
I suppose it depends what's under the ground. Is it decomposing? Like, what's the weather been like? So has it stopped the body naturally decomposing because it was cold over the months, and then as it started to get warmer?
I have not got a clue, sir. The family and curious locals investigated the smelly circle. The farm horses, it was discovered, would refuse to walk across the smelly circle. The animals would buck and while out. There were no field mice and no bugs of any kind in the patch too. Curious George caught a noisy cricket and released Jiminy into the unusual circle. The noisy cricket immediately silenced and absolutely bombed it back out of the circle. Once out of the circle, the cricket began being a noisy little twat again. Curious. As the children continued to explore by this circle, Sarah called out for her father. Daddy! Much to the shock of the children, as the wind blew, both children heard a faint voice call out, "Help!" It was David's voice! The voice gradually faded away. The children ran back to tell servant chef Suki what had happened. Quickly, all of the servants except Suki left the farm. They were gone. They were out.
I thought you were going to say they left the farm to go and help, but no, they left.
Yeah, they were gone. Absolutely none of that.
My logical brain goes to sinkhole, and he's underground somehow.
Yeah.
I know they'd done the test and said it was on flat ground, but maybe they missed something.
You're calling poor professionalism from the surveyor.
Not poor.
Human error.
Just human, yeah.
I
Just
don't make
missed
human
something.
error. I'm a good
Not
professional. This is poor practice. Okay, so
Cyborg John.
how, if there were a sinkhole, how is it that David could fall into it and then it closed back up? Because once it's sunk, it sank, surely.
What if it's similar to...
Patch of quicksand?
Yeah, quicksand, or like that boggy... Like a bog. Muddy bog. That boggy bog. And once you fall in, you kind of fall into a cavern.
Yeah. Like is it Harry Potter where they fall through the trees into the bog of eternal stench.
If that's what it's called.
That's not from Harry Potter, that's from Labyrinth.
Ah.
Smell bad. You're my boy, Ludo.
Yeah, what if it's like that?
Okay. I mean, this is just making this surveyor look worse and worse if they've missed a patch of bloody quicksand on a farm.
Absolutely.
I am a level 3 surveyor. Filling this survey.
Maybe it was warm when he fell in, or it had rained heavily or something.
Ooh.
He'd fallen in.
Okay, so the ground softened up to the point you could slide through, but
Yeah.
then it hardened back up a little bit.
Maybe that's what happened.
Okay. So I'm with you there. That's one theory we can run with, but several months later, how are we hearing him speak in the wind?
Because maybe they're
That rosy voice.
It sounds like it's coming on the wind, but it's coming from underneath them.
How is he still alive, caught underground?
What if there's berries and stuff and he's literally just
Don't they need
living
sunlight?
off? Yeah. Well, what if he's now Mole Man Lang?
He's turned into a mole.
Mole
He was an X-Man all along.
Daddy. Call him Mole Dad.
Good on the servants, though. Sod this. Absolutely sod this.
The
I ain't waiting around to find out. Something ain't right here. I am gone. When the children told their mum what they'd heard, it turned out that Emma had been hearing the voice too, becoming fainter and fainter with each passing day. Emma had borderline gone bonkers, listening out for the voice and insisting that David was still alive. Obviously nobody believed, but now the children did, and that was enough for Emma. As David never returned and no body was ever recovered, there was never a funeral or memorial service for David. Emma, whilst beginning to function again, never quite fully recovered and ended up leaving the farm. Emma left friend Judge Peck to rent out the farm for the family on the agreement that the field where David disappeared would never be touched. The field was indeed never touched for as long as Emma Lang lived. When Emma sadly passed away, the children went to live with their grandparents in Virginia. That is basically all the events for today's episode. So what the F happened? How can a human just disappear out of reality? Well, maybe that's exactly it. Did David disappear from our reality?
So you saying he slipped dimensions?
Did he time slip or space slip?
Space slip. Is he a space slipper?
Oh, that is one possibility. He just stepped in the exact wrong patch at the wrong time and he was gone.
What if he is literally
And that
there?
might explain why the voice is still sort of travelling through.
He's there right in front of them, can see them.
Oh, I wasn't going to go that far. I was going to say he's in
But-
the same place, but he can't see them. He's like in another plane of reality, so he can't see them, but every now and then he can hear. Kind of like Stranger Things, the Upside Down. You need to watch Stranger Things.
So do you think that it's while he's in this other plane, he's the only one there?
There specifically, in that location, in general, yes.
Not in...
Is he the only person on that plane in total? No, I think there are...
So if there are others and it has been that long, would you...
Not necessarily humans.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm going down Stranger Things loophole rabbit holes.
Would you try and get back to the plane that you were originally from, or would you just accept your fate and carry on living where you are?
Well, David has got children, so he's probably trying to live where he is. I've had enough. Life is hard. Was he messing with the dark arts to escape? I've had enough.
Was he trying to do...
Emma is a biatch.
Was he trying to do a rain dance to help the crops grow? And he stepped to the left when he should have stepped to the right.
That's all it took.
Dimension switch.
He done the secret move.
Ade due dembella.
Is that Child's Play?
Yes.
How did that come into it?
Maybe he was chanting that when he was doing the dance.
Now I'm thinking, did his soul get placed into some inanimate object or like a cow or something?
He's the cricket.
That's why it's so noisy, and every now and then he musters up the strength to make it sound like help. There have been other occurrences in the paranormal history of the Earth which we will one day cover, whereby an individual is believed to have snapped out of our reality. Science theorises that there are more than the 3 dimensions us humans can perceive. Could extensions of reality, or indeed other planes of existence entirely, sit just outside of our own perceptions? Think about this. If you were a stick man and could only sit in 2D, there would be a whole lot of 3D space you'd be unaware of and unable to utilise. Time, too, is a dimension. You can't meet someone at a place without a time. String theory argues for the existence of 10 dimensions, though a 2017 neutron star collision did blow some doubt into string theory's proposal of further dimensions, as gravitational energy wasn't observed to leak. Some theories suggest even more dimensions still. Another possibility, and come on, we have to cover this, is that David Lang was abducted by aliens. There is no technology on Earth that can make a human completely disappear in an instance. That is not to say that technology of this nature couldn't exist elsewhere. We don't need to walk through the concept of aliens being more advanced than us to travel the distances they'd have to travel to visit Earth. All we need to do is come up with an explanation. Why David? Random chance?
I would argue that time is not a dimension. Simply because time is created by humans. It's a construct that we've given ourselves.
So 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever, that specifically could be considered a construct, but we are moving through time.
Yes, but...
We can't experience all times at once. Well, we can't. So time is a plane of reality.
I see what you're saying. But...
Screw you!
I think you can meet someone at a place without a time.
Well, you wouldn't, because you wouldn't be there if you didn't have a time.
You could just turn up.
You're still at a point in time. You're constantly moving at this point in time.
You didn't say that you couldn't meet somewhere at a place in time. You said without a time. They're 2 different things.
No, they're not.
A place in time and a place without a time.
Regardless of whether you look at your watch, you're there at a point in time.
At a point in time that we have created. In time or at a time?
Both.
They're 2 different things.
But that time is the point in time that has just gone.
Not necessarily.
But get it back then.
Just did.
Time is a confusing mistress.
What I shall tame. I will spend many years taming this beast. You die I got tamed.
Time tamed me.
I was but a fool.
I thought I was strong.
Chasing a dream I could never have. Every time I would grasp out, it would just slip away.
Time slipped.
Those damn time slippers.
Not as comfy as I had hoped.
If you were to master time travel,
yes,
then time would be your mistress.
Arguably,
you would have.
If you could
been
move
able to
through, well, you'd need to be able to.
I suppose you're not getting time back because you're not getting younger.
No, Well, that's a good question as well.
You're moving through time.
You're moving through. This is where it gets really confusing. Are you moving through your own timeline or the universe's timeline?
Possibly be the universe's timeline rather than your own.
It's a useless superpower if you cannot also control space, because you could only move through time in presumably the point you're at the point you travel through time.
Could
So
still
the
be
chair
handy.
you're sat in, you can only travel back and forward in that chair. You go past the point this house is built, you're going to fall to the floor and die.
Would you have control of how far back you go, though?
Tell me, potentially.
Because if you knew when the house was
we're
built,
making this up.
if you knew when the house was built, you go back to there. And then you're like, let me just check the history records. What was here before that?
Even if you travelled while standing on the floor, the ground level might have changed ever so slightly. So then when you pop out, your legs in the ground stuck or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That's messing with time is a dangerous mistress. But if you can control space, then you can be a bit more selective with what you're doing. Or can you only travel through your own timeline? So your current consciousness would move into the consciousness of a previous you.
A pre-you.
Yeah. This is why time is a confusing mistress.
I think I would rather that than
could
time and
potentially be
space.
useful because you could win the lottery for a couple of weeks running.
Because time and space, you would be taking yourself back as you are. Time, moving into your own consciousness. If you were 80, take yourself back to 16 and just be like, right, I'm going to fucking rule the world, baby.
But you've still got your consciousness in a 16-year-old's body.
I'd stick everything I've got on Leicester to win the Premier League in 2016.
Maybe there'll be some sort of war in our future that you could prevent. Something
Everything on Leicester.
I'm gonna get that Porsche. I need it. I need it.
Every colour.
Another theory out there is fairies. Did David step on a fairy and bomb? Revenge. Fairies are originally actually quite dark creatures who often had mischievous or even evil intentions. Fairies may linger in the grass and plants. Step on one at your peril. Slightly more provably plausible is invisibility. Legitimately, from 2006, scientists have been building prototype working invisibility devices, and I'm talking devices that shield from light waves, which we can see, and other forms of waves, which we could otherwise detect, for example, through radar. Do we trust that our military can't do more? Is it possible that ways to implement invisibility were discovered centuries earlier than our own generations, a la some level of Nikola Tesla genius? Was David experimenting on his farm, and did this result in David's disappearance? Some have theorised that this case was quite literally a glitch in our matrix. If we live in a simulation, which many do believe, there would possibly likely be small glitches as this simulation is computed, a la Black Cat Deja Vu. Our inability to examine our reality, our particles, atoms, quarks and neutrinos beyond a certain microscopic scale may indeed be evidence that we are in a simulation with our abilities limited. Scientists have studied this in lots of ways, and there is genuinely believed to be a 1 in 3 chance that we are in a simulation. That's pretty high odds. Do the Sims know they are in the Sims?
A few things I'd like to touch on there. It's quite weird how now fairies are seen as
Lovely.
and good, and demons are referred to as evil, whereas a demon was just a spirit back in
an angel.
Back in the day, they weren't necessarily good or evil, but now you refer to a demon and everyone thinks evil. And
Fairies were
good.
nasty little bastards, yeah.
Also, cats.
Yes.
There is a cat
You said that like you've got a vendetta against this cat.
that wanders around my road.
Oh, you've got a vendetta.
It owns that whole road.
Does it?
Does. So,
I'd argue that my car wheel could own that road pretty
would
easily.
you morally run a cat over?
Would I
knowing-
morally run it over?
Would you?
I mean, I'd practically. I don't know about morally.
Like, you can literally...
I hope no one listens to this thinks I'm being serious there.
You could literally drive into the road and the cat will just walk
What,
across
play
the
chicken?
road. Just nice and just gently in its own time, and it will stop and just look at your car,
Like, you want some?
and then it will just slowly walk off again. Like, there's no urgency in getting out of the way of the car. Just sits there, randomly sits
Do you not
in,
like rev at it to try and get out of the way?
takes no notice. It's just like, and what? And it will just sit in people's driveways. No one knows who owns the cat.
The cat owns the people.
Admittedly, I think 6 months after I moved in, I heard an argument between my neighbours
And a cat.
someone else about the cat, because I think the neighbours took it to the RSPCA or somewhere,
Right.
and then the apparent owners complained, and they were like, your cat just fucking wanders around everywhere and we feed it all the time, like no one knows whose cat it is. So we took it there, and they were like, this is our cat, rah! And they were proper going at it. So they went and got the cat back, and cat just wanders around again. Like, I swear they just don't give a shit.
Well, they're probably getting away pretty cheap on owning a pet if they're not having to feed it. Everyone else is sorting it out for them. Maybe I should let Moxley walk up and down the road.
He'd have far too much fun.
Oh, he'd just chase anything that moved. Anything that moves at more than a slow walk. Children, cats, foxes. Loves chasing that boy.
I think if they like absolutely pegged it, it'd be like, game on.
Yeah, yeah. Don't run quick and don't stand still. Because if you stand still, he thinks you might be a threat and he gets a bit funny. Like we were walking over the field not too long ago, and this chap was coming the other way and then just stopped, frozen, and then we were with this other people with a dog as well, and both the dogs started getting really sort of jumpy, and bearing in mind Moxley is never like that, he's soft and soppy, but yeah, he started to get really funny, barking, and as we got closer the chap was like, I'm scared of dogs. Like, why are you in a dog walking field? There are poo bins on either side. There's signs all over the place. Why? Go around. But yeah, the fact that this chap had stopped had unsettled the dogs. Worst thing you can do. If he'd have just kept on walking, they wouldn't have been interested.
Wouldn't have cared.
But they're thinking because he stopped and he's looking at us that he's a threat. Can we explain this one in the world of science we can understand? Now, obviously, Emma and Peck ran to the spot David Lang had been standing. Fields look kind of similar though. I walk through fields with my woof woof all the time, and if you drop something and move forward a few metres, legitimately, it's hard to find what you've dropped. It's even harder when you lose sight of a turd in longer grass. Is it possible that Emma and the rest went to the slightly wrong place, and that there was, in fact, a divot David could have slipped down, for example? Maybe this was a plan. David could have had enough of family life and needed him some whiskey whittles and wenches. Judge Peck may have been in on it, wanting his boy back to run the streets like they used to. The duo could have been tunnelling under the farm fields for months to aid David's escape, disappearing rather than breaking the hearts of his family. Maybe the surveyor was in on it, or maybe the tunnel was so structurally sound that surveying technology of the time couldn't detect it.
A pick.
Peck. Peck. Peck rented out the field for Emma later. Maybe this part funded both Emma's family and David's new life. The children were 8 and 11 and arguing at the time of the disappearance, so it's quite plausible that the children never saw David disappear but merely adopted that memory after having been told by Peck. Maybe everyone else was just split second looked the other way at Peck, and then he was like, "Ah, God!" Everyone turned and he was gone, and they all thought they saw him disappear, whereas actually he'd have been like, "See ya!" Turned around and ran into the distance.
Pulled like a trap door. Went underground.
Possibly.
So not necessarily a natural sinkhole, but deliberate.
Possible, yeah.
Deliberate.
Either that, or like I say, he just pegged it, took his chance, wanted to get away.
So when the field was rented out, where did the funds go? Did they all go to Emma or?
Mostly. So Peck took a share for sorting it out, yeah. As far as I could ascertain, at least, from accounts today.
And did any of them try it on with Emma?
No, she was all kinds of ruined after this. She wasn't interested in none of that. She was in pieces.
They were in on it then.
It's possible. There's not really any evidence to back that up, but there's not any evidence to back up that a person disappears, and it's hard to fathom a person just disappearing. The disappearance of David Lang is predominantly documented in 2 books. 1958's Strange Mysteries of Time and Space, authored by Harold T. Wilkins, and 1959's Stranger Than Science by Frank Edwards. These appear to have themselves been inspired by a July 1953 edition of Fate magazine. The article was, "How Lost Was My Father?" written by Stuart Palmer. That article was said to have been recounted to Stuart by Sarah Lang, daughter of Emma and David herself, in 1931. Direct source. Sarah actually elaborated further, confirming that Sarah spent her later years trying to utilise mediumship to contact her parents. One medium told Sarah that her mother was seeking and waiting, just as Sarah was seeking and waiting, which I guess means that David never made it to our afterlife. Yet. Sarah later still learnt how to communicate with Mum Emma directly herself, but could only confirm that Emma continued to search for David. I did read an account which further suggests that during April 1929, Sarah received a note via automatic handwriting, later verified to be in David's own handwriting, stating, "Together, now and forever." Sarah passed on at peace that her mother and father were eventually reunited. He made it, baby! Fate was the American source for paranormal mysteries from the 40s to the 1960s, and it's said that David's handwriting was included in the original article. I could find no newspaper clippings detailing this story from 1880. Fortean Times magazine themselves investigated this story in October 1976 before the Fate magazine origin came to light and found no record of a David Lang or Judge Peck in census records. Fortean Times determined that this story was a work of fiction. They found no farm at the alleged site of these events. Another researcher, Robert Shadowald, through shade, and further verified that those handwriting samples and sworn statements by Sarah and Stuart Palmer weren't actually verified to be from those parties. They were all verified to be from the author of the article, Stuart Palmer. So basically, Palmer wrote the article, forged some automatic writing, and signed a statement via himself and Sarah Lang stating the events to be true. This would be a good way to cover up a true mysterious event and ability the powers that be don't want us to tap into, though. Wouldn't it? Other researchers have attributed this tale to hoaxer Joseph Mulhatton, who is said to have submitted this story to a liar's contest in the 1880s. There isn't any real evidence for that claim. We have arrived.
So we've got no evidence that this farm exists.
I couldn't find anything myself, and the Fortean Times, who looked into it more thoroughly than myself, couldn't even find the farm,
and no,
let alone the people.
Yeah.
No Judge Peck, and you'd think a judge would be in some form of somewhere. Census. And a farmer, to be fair. Farmers own lots of land and are important. Keep society going.
I was going to ask if, or I was going to mention that if she did actually get in touch with her mother and she was still searching, it puts more credence on the fact that he just legged it.
Even in the afterlife, he weren't going back. He was done. He'd done his shift. He was moving on.
But Liars Club.
Well, I love Liars Club. It's one of my favourite concepts that we cover on the show.
What do you reckon, and I think this is going to be quite high, the possibility is of a Liars Club still being active?
Oh, there's got to be some. The thing is, people just bullshit to troll each other these days. But what...
It's like the Liars Club's got out of hand. You just go on the internet and you're in Liars Club.
Yeah, but there's got to be some sort of proper club. And if not, we should form one. And not for, like, vindictive or dangerous lies, just for stupid shit like the bath milk story. That kind of stuff, just for shits and giggles.
I love telling that. Makes my day.
In summary, we've covered the mysterious disappearance of David Lang. When I say mysterious, I mean it. This shit was instant. 1 minute David was waving to his friend in view of the friend's companion, David's wife, the family, children and servants, and then literally the next second, David was gone. Emma Lang and the rest of the group headed to where David had been, and there was nothing there. The search continued. At times, David's distressed call was heard, but David never returned. Emma moved away and never really recovered from these events. We wondered whether Emma and co had headed to the wrong part of the field, and whether there in fact could have been something David could hide behind to make it look as though he vanished. Maybe David had built a secret escape tunnel. Maybe David's friend who witnessed this was in on it. We also wondered whether this was aliens, or David reality slipping. Time slipping, if you will. We covered that this case is primarily recorded in 2 books from 1958 and 1959, which appear to have been inspired by a 1953 magazine, which has since been probed, with it suggested that the story was a hoax by author Stuart Palmer. Is there anything you want to go back over before we conclude, Mr. Moonwalker?
No.
Are you saying that it was aliens? Or or a reality slip? Don't be hasty. You give it some thought.
I believe that this is a reality slip. A reality slip by the author that wrote a different reality
or us who read
to
it.
Everyone else. I don't think this happened in our reality, but happened in the reality of the pages created by, what was his name?
Stuart Palmer.
Mulholland.
Oh, Mulhatton.
For the Liars Club.
Yeah. I mean, this one was a bit toothless once we got to the end, wasn't it?
It was.
I won't waste your time, dear probers. I concur that the author invented it. It's another one that makes me want to create a Liars Club, though. What would we have to do practically to do that? Probably put some time into our social media accounts.
Yeah. Time that we don't have. But if we mastered time, if we made it our mistress.
Yes, we shall master time. That is a wrap for today.
Danger.
Thank you for listening to But It Was Aliens. If you enjoy what we do and want to help us to continue whilst getting your ears on more of our content, you can. If you head on over to the darkest corner of the internet, otherwise known as patreon.com/But It Was Aliens, you can sign up to become a patron of the show. Each month, we release bonus episodes we call Side Probes, where we probe the most unusual, adult and bonkers of paranormal events, conspiracies and mysteries. You can get access to these additional episodes for less than the cost of a cup of coffee. You can share episode suggestions with us on the Twitter @But It Was Aliens.
On the Twitter.
You can also say hello on Facebook, where Connected to But It Was Aliens is a secretly public private group called Extraterrestrial Towers. Being a member of Extraterrestrial Towers grants you protection from the aliens when they invade. You are safe in the towers, and your nuts, lady nuts or person nuts, absolutely will not be exchanged for any type of classic vehicle.
Kebs will be though.
No, they won't.
Remember,
Place of safety.
if you would like to get your hand on Kevin's balls,
No
what
one.
you need to do is trade me a Shelby GT500 1967 version, and you can have his balls.
No.
I will hand deliver them in a jar in
You would
exchange
not want to touch them.
for the full-size working vehicle.
They're
and
depleted.
keys.
They're now malnourished. Until next time. If Cinderella's shoe fit perfectly, why did it fall off? The truth is up there. #,